Hi, everybody. This is Nanette Kennedy with Humanities Team and the Evolution Revolution. And I'm sitting in front of a window that makes me look white as a sheet, but we are reading Neale Donald Walsch's book, The Only Thing That Matters. And we believe we are on chapter 23. And today's date is, I can't believe it, but it's August 22nd. Where have the summer months gone? So anyway, I'm going to turn it over to you, Linda.
Okay, thank you. So we're on page 115, which puts us at exactly 50% of the way through this book. Chapter 23 of The Only Thing That Matters, which is Conversations with Humanity, Book 2. A dare from the author to the author. Okay, now comes the mind-boggling part. This entire book has been a wide-ranging exploration, but right now you're going to be invited to undertake one of the most unusual explorations of all. You're going to be invited to explore not just the idea, but the experience that there is only one of us, and therefore no separation between you and the author of this book. The rational side of your mystical side, yes, the two can exist simultaneously, may fairly easily have accepted this book's basic notion that remembering and experiencing all of the insights here, this is why you came to this moment, as well as the idea that you have called forth this wisdom and this understanding. But now exactly where are we going? You've just been reminded that what one desires is the only thing that matters. So now, where are we going? We're going to a place of mind where you may know experientially one's greatest desire. No separation from anyone or anything, the end of loneliness forever. As you take this next courageous step in your self-exploration, we want to suggest that you begin with questions that may have occurred to you earlier. How can I claim to have called forth my wisdom by reading someone else's book? Is this not what I have always done? Looked to someone else for answers? The response offered here, perhaps, it is what you have seemed to have done in the past, but it is not what you are clear that you are doing now. This is different. Now, in this moment, you are aware that when you actively call forth wisdom from within, it shows up in 100 different ways across 1,000 moments. The lyrics to the next song you hear on the radio, the message splashed across the billboard on the next highway you travel, the chance utterance in the next conversation you overhear, or of a friend you just happen to run into on the street. And yes, even you seemingly talking to yourself. Which brings us back to this book and the statements that led off chapter 4. It can look like the wisdom on those pages is coming from somewhere else, but it is you who have called it forth. You will remember that in chapter 3, it was said that you can call forth wisdom in two ways. One is to gather it from a place that appears to be outside of you. That is what you appear to be doing right now. A second way is to gather information from a place that is inside of you. That is what you are actually doing right now. Hang on, I just need to cough. It looks like you are doing the first, but you are actually doing the second. Now, as you delve even more deeply into the wisdom that you have brought forward, you might ask yourself, is this a book I just happened to be drawn to and that I just happen to now be reading? Do I really think that this is all just happening? Or could it be the reverse, that it is all happening justly? Might it be occurring in just the right way, at just the right time, for just the right reason, just perfectly? To take this all to a new territory, could it be that you not only found this book so easily, but that you found it so easily to read, or you found it so easy to read because this really is all just you calling to yourself and talking to yourself? Just for this moment, let's pretend that it is. Just for the experiment of it, just for the mental exercise of it, pretend that you are holding in your hand, what you are holding in your hand is a book written for you by you, called forth through what appears to be another, but who may not be another at all. Again, there's a reason for this experiment, and it has to do with bringing you a direct experience of the only thing that matters. So will you play? Begin the fun by assuming that you created and brought to yourself every soul knowing you have remembered here, simply using an exterior device to do so. Well, if that's the case, then this book might just as well be written in the first person. If it were not written by someone else at all, you might say. And indeed, it might as well be. So now you are invited by life itself to imagine in this moment that the author of this book is you, that you are writing to yourself. You realize now that you were told earlier in very clear terms that life's invitation is to now engage you in the process of exploring with yourself many things. This moment in your life is all about turning inward, looking at what you already know, but that you may simply not have been remembering. So why not create a real switch right now? Why not entertain a most unusual notion? Why not change the narrative voice of this book from the third person to the first person? Will you dare to put this book into your own voice, to read it as if it were truly were your own lost diary? End of chapter.
Well, thank you. It's an interesting way to think about this, that's for sure. And I was going to mention something, and I don't have page numbers because I'm in the Kindle. And there's this passage that says, and yes, even you, seemingly talking to yourself, which brings us back to this book and the statements that led off chapter 4. It can look like the wisdom on these pages is coming from somewhere else, but it is you who have called it forth. I am not going to go through a lot of details about what I'm about to tell you, but I will give you the highlights. I have a sister who is a drug addict and mentally disabled from drugs. And 2 weeks ago, she suffered a psychotic break. And I was absolutely overwhelmed. She doesn't live where I live. She lives in another state, in a Kansas City. And I was so overwhelmed by what my sister was telling me that was going on with her life that made no sense. Things like I was carrying the unborn Holy Spirit, and I didn't need to worry about my age, that the pregnancy would be fine, and that men were able to carry babies as well, but they carry them in their fingernails. I need to watch for my bank account because $374 trillion is going to end up there. She was raped. She was stabbed. Just this amount of information was so overwhelming to me that I out loud said, Mom, you need to make a visit, because my mother's deceased. Before my mother died, she said she would come back as a cardinal. And if you're not familiar with cardinals, the male are red and the female are kind of a brown and gray color. And in Colorado, we don't have cardinals. And in this short poem that I'd written on my Facebook page, I was begging for a cardinal to give me a sign that somehow everything was going to be all right, because we so horribly treat people like my sister and put her out on the street in the condition that she's in. And I put it out there. I need to see this cardinal. I need to have my mom to try to help me figure out what I'm supposed to do with this horrific situation. Well, yesterday afternoon, I was going through some really gorgeous pictures. And it's not a website I've been to until yesterday. And lo and behold, after probably spending a half hour just looking at these photographs, there was this big wind sprayed photograph of a male cardinal. And I thought, I'll take it. I'm going to take that as my sign that everything is going to somehow or another work out. And I did ask, it's like they're saying here, but it is you who have called it forth. And I feel like I called forth this cardinal, whether it was a picture or not. Over.
I mean, I totally believe you did. And a thing that we have to remember when we ask for these signs is that they might not come in the way that we expect them to. And sometimes then we don't recognize them. It's like you could be the one saying, oh, it's not an actual bird, it's just a picture, so it doesn't count. I think a lot of times that's what we humans do, we, not just with things like that, but we talked about that last week a little bit, Mirko, with you, and sending a message to one person who was cold to you. And then this other person was very warm and receptive to, and you had a positive impact on them. It's like it's the universe, whatever we want to call it, isn't as linear and boxy as we are in our thinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that's part of the challenge. It's just being willing to accept that we take our actions and that what comes in response to them just might not look at all like we were thinking it would, but that doesn't make it any less, special and the answer and whatever. I ran out of my words. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
I like what you said, Mary, but it's, I think, even then to listen, because when you just told about or talked about this, something else for me for this week, or it's not even this week, but it happened this week, but it came into my mind. I just wanted to find out about, I'm into shamanism and so on, to go on with doing classes and whatever, and didn't find a way. And I always, when I went out since months, and so I say, okay, I want to find the big feathers, not only the small, and so, and years before I was into shamanism, I every time saw feathers on all places and whatever, and once on a sudden they disappeared. And then I just, wherever I went, there were no more feathers there. And then until this week, I went, and then 2 days, on yesterday and the day before yesterday, 2 times, one a small one and one a big one. And so I have the answer also. But you talked about not, I think, yeah, we are very much into the linear things. And sometimes if we cannot, as soon as we can quiet our minds or our mind, I think I'm usually several minds. I am not only one mind, I'm several minds. So
Yeah.
in the morning I am a mind, and I think 5 or 6 minds a day or so. And yeah, but the last couple of weeks, I was really able to quiet my mind for nearly the whole day. And so, yeah, seemingly nice things happened, or they did not happen. I saw them, I see it in another way. It's not something happens, it's just I'm aware of more what's going on. That's it. It's not happening. I'm aware, I'm receptive of a lot of things. They already go on, but when I am busy in my minds, doing and juggling and jumping from one place to the other, and so I am so occupied by these minds and by these egos and all this stuff. So then I haven't got even a sense of being aware of what's going on. Over.
Thank you. I really understand what you're saying. And I too have
Great.
several different heads on in a day.
Sometimes all at the same time.
Yeah. Ah.
Yeah, and just imagine I'm usually making up for what I say. It immediately pumps up pictures. And then minds are coming out of my minds, and out of these minds, there are coming some minds up. And I think in the end, there are a whole bunch of minds dancing over my head or under my head or behind or beside.
What really resonate with me is my point of view on this chapter is that wisdom come to us in many different ways, because Neale often say that we all have a conversation with God all the time, and this conversation happen to us in ways that we can understand, we better understand. And my experience in my life, especially I aware, like Romy say, of this kind of conversation is through, like the chapter said, the lyrics of songs. Because I don't watch TV, I don't listen to radio, to music, anything of this. I am a little bit strange, but I am in my in a beautiful place now, in the middle of a forest, no cars, no noise, only the computer, my books, my work, my dogs, but when for example I have a question or a doubt, often it happens to me that I comes to my mind a song that is a perfect song with the answer of my at my question. For example, in the last week, I was suddenly I was singing. I like singing, but spontaneously. So I was singing a song that was the phrase was "You make me feel brand new,"
Mm.
and I went to my computer searching for this song, and I read all the lyrics of the song. If you give it a try later, you will discover that is a wonderful song, because we are, as the book say, we are recreating ourselves anew. The book say many times, and so you make me feel brand new. You who? You. The song was for me, because I was in that moment. I was in doubt for a project in my work, and I realize, if you read the lyrics of this song, "You Make Me Feel the New," brand new is the title of the song. I realized that with my creativity, I can find all the solution to every problem. And this creativity is the wonder of life, the good part of life is that, as we say, that we have not only our logical thinking, but we have songs, we have friends, as the chapter say, we have a book. When you open a book without any, come si dice a caso, without any logic, you often
Mirko, it shows up. I think it's what you are looking for. It shows up when you open a book. It shows up at the right place. I mean, yeah, seemingly, yes. Yeah. Okay.
So I think that we often focus our attention only on the logical part of us, but sometimes we have to open up and listen. For example, it seems a strange thing, but try to sing a song. Chosen up a song, and you will find that this song is bring the perfect message for you at this moment, while you were searching for a phone call with I don't know, with your lawyer, with your specialist, but the song has more answer than the lawyer, for example. I invite you to read the lyrics of this song. You make me feel brand new, because, for example, there is a phrase, and then I have concluded my space. There is a phrase that say, "You were the only one who cared when I was in need." So if you think that you were the only one who cared of you when you were in need, I think is a wonderful message, because you think, I have to care of me. This is I was smiling when I was reading the lyrics of this song, because I was thinking, okay, I get, like Nanette before, I get a link. Now I search for the link. And the song is beautiful, and is singed, I don't know in English, by Simply Red. Is an artist. Simply Red is the new version. The old version was, and I discovered the final thing. I discovered that the genre of music is soul music. So perfect song, perfect answer. My conversations with God often happens like these with songs for me. So when I have a doubt, when I have a block, when I have a moment of a challenge, I sing. It's strange to say, but I sing what I want to sing.
Um,
I invite you to sing more.
but what you just said has been very fascinating. And Romy put a note in the chat window that says, do you have a link to the song, the lyric?
And now I search on the internet the lyrics.
Very
I
nice.
have it pulled up. It won't let me put it in.
Oh,
Yes. This is the song. It's famous. New words cannot explain.
yeah, I think we'll all need to listen to that. And then Linda, you said you can't get it to go into the box.
Yeah, I have it copied, but it won't let me paste for some reason.
That's weird. Well, Margo, if you can see if you can put the link in the.
And now I search.
Okay. Anybody else?
I don't know. I'm thinking about two things from courses, reading, thinking, and so much. I think that it's problem maybe sometimes is our lives that we create not from the conscious mind, but from the unconscious mind. And I think that we are much more complex that we only think. And I think that this may be a problem sometimes because we want to create something and we create another thing, appears something another. I think that very much of thing is unconscious. And also here, when I read no separation from anyone or anything. Now I'm reading this Course in Miracles, and I found that the ego is a matter of separation, and that we must turn to Holy Spirit and not to be separated by ego. And I think that it is not easy. I don't know, maybe realize the God in all this crowd of conscious, unconscious, ego, all that is outside, all that is inside. I think that all this is very complex. Yes, over.
Thank you. It is very complex.
And so also we are not only this person, we are all persons, all are we, but we are one person in front of another person. And I think this is one hologram, very complex hologram of life.
Thank you.
Over.
Mirko put the link in the box. So if you want to copy that link out of there so that you can listen to it after the call, that would be a good idea. Anybody else have anything they want to add, or should we go ahead and read a little more?
I'll just say that when I was writing volume 1 of my book, it was remarkable to me that I'd get to a section and I'd need to do some research, and I'd pop over to the internet and start doing the research. And more often than not, there would be like some article pertaining to exactly what I was writing about that had just come out, like within, one of them was within 24 hours of me looking for it. And I just, it was like always when I needed an answer, it was always there for me. And that's this energy that Neale's talking about, right? Because everything's one, we're all connected. So the impulse is always there to give us what we need. We just have to ask for it, basically.
Yeah, that's right, that we are guided
Yeah,
in some
yeah.
manner. Yes, I also experience this when I think about teach me this, and then I'm found in one book or I don't know, in another place. That's right.
Meaning we are always connected. We only have to focus on not to disconnect ourselves and finding out how we can hold our balance, that we don't jump in too much into the ego mind.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's everything that's I think even now with this, what's going on and what everybody and so, and I'm very thankful that I'm just had so many weeks now that I'm just could take just holding my energies and and just not falling into many of this whatever, just taking me back. But it's very, how do we say it, it costs a lot of energy to be always or to try to be, not always, it's not possible, but to be aware, as to be conscious as much as possible. And it's really, it's I think it's hard work.
Yes, we get into our dramas. We have dramas and in our story, then back to awakening.
Yeah, on the spaces or places where we play our private theaters or so, and sometimes I think even the body sometimes very much likes to play this, or the ego mind he likes to play in this, and and just to find out that my real whatever doesn't need that. I enjoy quiet space and doing things out of my creativity, and that's it. Yeah, over.
If you think to the message of this chapter, to change your perspective and see you as the author. As I said before, if you see you as the author of the song that I put in the chat, this change of perspective is a very positive message for our life, because it's telling us that we have always the answer to our challenge, to our question. So the only thing that we have to do is to change the perspective and see that all the challenges that we have in our lives, like Nanette said at the beginning of the meeting, we have in some ways, like Ariana said before, in some ways we have put this challenge in our life. We are not the victims. So when we are watching us like victims, life for me and the soul and our soul is inviting us to change the perspective and see that we are not the victims, but the creators of this challenge to see what we are capable to do. Is really an opportunity to expand. I don't know in your life, Nanette, but in my life, I have had, especially in the past, many problems. And now when I see a problem, I have another perspective. I see not the problem, I see the opportunity. Because I'm, thanks to this meeting, to Neale, recently, to the books, and now I know who I really am. So I really see that all is good. All is good.
Mm.
We have to change the perspective.
Yes,
Agreed.
if I may say something about this.
It's a
Of course,
positive message.
yes, I read, of course, we all in Neale Donald Walsch that masters don't see them as victims, but that they are creators of all. And also, I found
Yes.
this in another course by De Leon, Falling in Love with Yourself, Challenging Mother Mary, that we are responsible for all. And it's really, I am going day after day accepting this. We are really responsible about all, but it's not easy to accept that we are responsible about bad things in our lives that we don't like, but that we are responsible about all, and only in this way we can make change. Is in Neale Donald Walsch. I'm thinking some days before I am.
But
and I
you,
think,
for me, what you
yes,
are trying to say,
I'm trying to
what you are
put
trying to
this.
say is that for me,
Yes, that we are responsible for all. And then I think, yes, I'm responsible about this relationship, about this choice, and all is choice. And then
we are
think,
responsible, but
yes,
we are
yes,
responsible, but the positive message of the chapter is, for me, and for my experience and for my understanding, is that we are responsible for the answer that we put in the challenge that we face. Not responsible for coronavirus, for example. No, we are not responsible. Mirko is not responsible for coronavirus, but how I react, how I respond, I am responsible. And for me, this situation, this war situation, many people see this as a bad things. For me, is really an opportunity for my life to have these meetings that I never did before, talk about the soul that I never know before. Now I am learning or remembering many things that are improving my life with the coronavirus. So, as you said, and Neale often said that gratitude replace guilt in the mind of the master.
yes, 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 this
I
is
think
collective.
we have, and there is one of the
Mhm.
tools that are mentioned in the book, gratitude. We have many tools if we are aware, like Romy said, if you are aware, we have the tools to live a good life, even when the exterior circumstance, like in the life of Nanette. I think when I think I am grateful for what is happening with my sister. When you have this perspective, you can think to the situation in another way, a whole new way, like the song "You Make You Feel Brand New."
Thank you. Mary, I'm Are you trying to get in there to say something?
I was trying to get in there to say something. I just think it's really important. You know, I totally agree that everything is sort of an opportunity. And how we respond to the challenges and stuff. I agree on all of that. The only thing I want to say is there is a danger in the whole we attract everything, like we're responsible for everything. And I'm glad that you made the distinction between I'm not responsible for the coronavirus, how I respond to the situation. That's what's in my yard, because like there's a lot of stuff that happens in people's life, and I just want to make sure the danger is that we could blame the victims. So we could blame Nanette's sister for the situation that she's in and say, well, she's responsible, she created all of that. So if the society just throws her out onto the street, that's okay. And I just wanted to say that's not okay, you know, and we are still all of the one. And when people are discarded like they have no value, that affects all of us. And that's what happens a lot in our society. I can't speak for those of you in other countries that might treat people more compassionately, like have universal health care and things like that. So anyway, I just want to say that because I think that that's a real danger that happens. And really, I read this interesting article about it was like a yoga thing with some kind of, you know, guru yoga person, and they went around killing people. And it was sort of, you know, like within the organization, there was a lot of politics, and they thought it was sort of okay to kill people because, like, you know, from a higher perspective, these bodies don't matter, this life doesn't matter. And I know that's an extreme example, but I think it's important to, I just needed to bring that. We can't get, you know, there's anyway, words keep coming and failing, but I just wanted to inspire that perspective that doesn't mean that people deserve horrible things to happen to them. And I know that nobody in this circle would have thought that, and probably nobody listening to the recordings, but just to be safe. That's all.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Neale has a saying, because if Neale had, let's say he'd been here today, and he talks about something he calls a spiritual bypass.
Yeah.
Right.
And he feels very strongly about it. He said, like, you wouldn't go up to somebody who's, let's say somebody's brother had just committed murder, and you were at the funeral, you wouldn't go up there and say, I wonder why he created that for himself. Because he said that's absolutely unkind, and it's not thoughtful. And it's what he calls the spiritual bypass. Is you just move along and you go, well, you know, I'm gonna get my spirit head and do this. But I want to say I didn't take anything that was said as a weird thing. I just I'm glad that you brought that up, Mary, because it is very important in our oneness and our spirituality. Because it actually, if you're living in oneness, in my humble opinion, you would never blame anybody for anything, you know.
And I think it's very hard when happen bad things. Also, I'm thinking about my situation. So why did I attract it or created bad things?
And that's the fear that there's a fear there. That's all I'm going to say is that there's a fear there of that, because believe me, I felt like I was in line waiting to be born, and I had a contract in my hand, and I got up to where I was getting ready to be born, and God said, can I look at your contract for a second. And he said, I don't think you've read this thoroughly because you've checked off a lot of things you want to experience in this lifetime. And he said, so I think you should maybe get back in line and while you're waiting, make some corrections. And I said, no, I just want to be born. You know, just let me be born. I'll experience everything from A to Z. Because there's also the thing that happens, even when, and I consider myself very spiritual, that I can find myself in a situation where I say something like, my God, when is it going to stop? You know, I can go there. And I can also pull myself out of it, which is the good news. But I admit that sometimes I feel like enough is enough. Over.
It's like, it's one thing to decide for ourselves. I mean, I've had some things happen in life, haven't we all? And I can look at how those things have been opportunities for growth for me. But at the moment that they were happening, I was not thinking, what a great opportunity for growth. I was thinking, oh my God, this hurts more than anything I've ever experienced in my life. Or why did this horrible thing happen to me? Like, I might have thought, what did I do to deserve it? I was a child. Did I do something to deserve that? You know, it's like, I think it's, you know, later down the road, I can look back and go, oh, that thing drove me to this, which drove me to that, you know, which is why I'm here in this group with these amazing people, expanding my heart and spirituality and whatever. But it's like, you can't go up to people ever and say, oh, this is really a blessing because of what you'll learn from it. Like, you know, if they punch you in the nose, you probably deserve that. And I don't really condone physical violence, but that's the key point here. It's,
Yeah.
you know, recognizing the opportunities for ourselves.
Mary. Mary, I want to add a thing to the song, that I mentioned before, because when I heard, I was searching the song "You Make Me Feel Brand New." The next song of Simply Red was titled "If You Don't Know Me by Now." So I was smiling because I was thinking, this is God that is telling me that if I don't understand that this was a message for me, and the song say, "You will never, never, never know me." So yeah. If we don't know God by now, we don't never know God.
I don't know.
Well, it's like there's that quote, if you don't see God in the person next to you, you will never know God, you know.
I love that quote. And
Yeah.
I'm
even your enemies,
even your enemies.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Neale say every time, say, bless your enemy, bless who hurts you, who persecute you. And I think I know what it means in my life. I really know. I don't know you, but I know what it means. When you arrive at this point that you can bless your enemies and all the circumstances of your life, I think you are reborn in your life, because you know that as all the CVG work say, see the perfection.
Yes, and the God sent all angels. It's not easy to see angels in someone who hurts us or something like this.
No, but Ariana, as you said before, the master gratitude replace uh, doubt or fear in the mind of the master, Neale said.
Yes.
So we have to know that in advance that what is happening now is for our highest good. This is
I
what the
have
master.
this here soul grow that accept the lesson when things don't go our way, something more important the growing. So I have this in this book.
I think that is very, very calming. That when you're in the midst of chaos and icky situations, that's such a big word, icky. That if you can stop long enough to say things like, I know you're here, God. I know you're with me. I know you're within me. I'm still a little tripped up here, and I don't feel like God is going to reprimand me for saying, I know I believe in God and I believe that God is in everyone. And I think all of us here wouldn't be here if we didn't think that. And so I think as long as we can keep those kinds of thoughts and like the words from the music you were talking about, Mirko, and Ariana, the thing you just held up, there are so many good ways to snap out of things. And sometimes it takes a little bit of time, especially if the situation is ongoing.
I
But
want to add something if I can.
please do.
One of the revelations that I've had recently, because I have had some element of brokenness that I've been dealing with in myself for over a year now. And I haven't been able to figure it out. And I think part of the reason I haven't been able to figure it out is because our egos think they have the answers. And so my ego was looking at all these things, and thinking that it was any one of these things or a combination of all these different things that it had identified. And what I realized, I went to the grocery store the other day, and going to the grocery store has become a traumatic event. And I think that it's a traumatic event for a lot of people, not just me and not just here, because you go in and depending on how bad the lack of workers situation is in your area, the grocery store shelves may be bare. There may be carts of boxes in the aisles, but there's nobody to put them out, so it's really, really chaos in a lot of grocery stores. So collectively, as a group, because we are a group, we're all experiencing these traumas of difficulty, just the simplistic idea of being able to go shopping. Most of us are not accustomed to seeing aisles and aisles of long shelves, that are bare. Last year, it was specific things, right? It started out as specific things. Toilet paper went missing, paper towels went missing. But now it's pervasive. It starts in the produce department. And, there's like 3 oranges that are 2 weeks old and there's no more oranges. And you look down and there's, a few heads of lettuce here and there's some picked over stuff there. And as you move through the store, you're collectively, your body and your cells are absorbing these scenes. And what finally became clear to me just the other day is that a lot of us are feeling broken at a cellular level, right? Because our bodies are made of cells that actually are connected to everything else, and they have memories. we don't have time to get into how I know that they have memories, but our bodies have memories, our cells have memories. And so I think the heightened accounting of people that are depressed, that are indulging in drugs and alcohol and sex. I mean, it's like, as a society, we're really falling apart at all levels. And it's being brought about in part because our cellular experience is being triggered by these events that we're witnessing and living through. So more than ever, it's really critical that we put our toolbox together so we can reel ourselves in when we discover that we're losing it at some level. And I just wanted to give voice to that, because I know there are people that watch this later. And I think it's really important to realize that we are all suffering, whether we think we're coping or not. At a cellular level, we are all suffering from this experience, and it's impacting us in ways that we are probably not synthesizing because we're not even realizing.
This is so
Thank you for
true.
that.
I gotta say, I, you know, on one level, I've been holding it together so well throughout this whole pandemic thing. And then there's this other part of me over here that's like,
Yes, but
I could just totally fall apart at a moment's notice. But, you know, I'm very good at holding it together.
only I want to say only one simple thing, Linda, because Neale say right, is right in this, that pain is one thing and suffering is another thing, because pain is a part of our life, but suffering is a decision.
This doesn't have anything to do with either of those.
The situation.
Yeah,
So,
this doesn't have anything to do with either of that, Marco. This is about understanding what the housing is doing, that we're not the housing. I'm talking about how we are not the housing that we reside within. And that the housing quite often will respond in ways that we're not aware of, in unconscious ways. And it's about being, pain and suffering are two different things. Suffering's optional, right? We choose to suffer, because if everything is divinity, then there is no suffering. But in our day-to-day experience, it doesn't necessarily, it's not even pain. It's like the way it manifests for me is, I can leave the house, but I can't take a walk. Like I can leave the house, I can go to the grocery store, I can run the errands, and go to the post office. But when it comes down to actually just taking a walk, for some reason, I can't do it. I'm not in pain, I'm not suffering, but I also can't do what I want to do. And that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a paralysis that comes about because we're inhabiting these bodies. We aren't the bodies. And the bodies have the energy of everything that's around us.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yes.
I just about Linda, what you sometimes it came, or it made something with you as you talked about the grocery stores and all what's happen on these places. And so then just I always have the very special feeling that even this Corona thing, it's just a little start. It's just the beginning of, because if everything breaks away, what is not good for our planet, for ourselves, also these stores will break away and. So perhaps it makes us suffering because we get used to it. We have to unravel or to put away what we get used to it and what is not healthy for us. I think then it's perhaps also possible that we don't suffer that much. That when we dig deeper, when we go deeper and we really find what we are longing for and what we really need. I just tried it with the just stars and I'm usually aware that there is too much waste. But the last few weeks, I just put myself on the level. I say, okay, I don't buy these things. I don't go to the stores. I go to the whatever. And I try to have only a very little bag of waste to throw it away and not a huge one. And it's possible, and it brings me a complete other energy into me. I can do even I also agree what came over from Linda about not able to do whatever walk or movement. It was the same for me for nearly years. I couldn't go for running, just for walking. And now I just find a way. I only went for cycling and gymnastics, but for me is to run and to compete with myself very important. And once on a sudden, it's possible.
Yes, if may I
For
say,
me,
I'm thinking, yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Ariana.
Yes, I think, yes, we are not our person responsible, but this corona and climate changes and all this that's happening, we are collectively made this. And this is the problem. Our behavior to the nature, to ourselves, poisons in food, or all this conscious must raise on earth. And I
Yes.
think it's raising.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Ariana, exactly.
The incredible things is that now I am in the south of Italy, because I am from the north of Italy, and I'm working here. And here where I am, there is nothing that you are experiencing, because here they are not that very advanced like as a society. There is very rural environment. There are no many people. There are no many many density of people. So here I never experienced any coronavirus, any restriction, anything of this, because there is no the advanced society. So I have to be before the coronavirus, I have learned the essentiality of life. So things like a work, like Linda said, is for you is a luxury. For me, is normality, normal. So at some level, I think that even in this world situation, we are not experiencing the same thing. This is what I was trying, because I not speak English very well, but I think I was trying to say that the coronavirus is only for me, for my experience, my understanding, and inviting us to find what is essential in our life, what is important in our life. Probably and 1 year ago, nobody said that a walk is take a walk was important, but today we are realizing that take a walk is very important, and watch a film, watch a movie is not very important.
And I also, if only, and today talking very much, in one book, Neale Walsch, I found that there's everything that is happening exterior in the world, don't judge, but find what is in yourself the source of this. So I think that it's hope to find in ourselves. All is in ourselves, and we are all. We can find in ourselves the source of this and to heal ourselves. I think that this is important always, not to judge, but to heal what is in myself like this. Yes.
Thank you. And that's going to have to be the last word because it's 10 after 1.
Oh, wow.
And Mary, if you wouldn't mind closing us up, that would be
Closing us
really good.
First, I'm going to say to Mirko and to all of our not native English speakers, you speak English very well, and
Yes.
probably better than any of us here speaks a
Thank you.
foreign language. Really, truly.
Thank you.
Mary, that's very nice of you. I very much enjoy it.
It's true. You know, I've studied some languages in the past, Italian being one of them, and I could never have spoken as well as you do in a group like this.
Yeah, I concur with Mary.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I'm going to just say quickly, because what I wanted to say earlier, and then Linda spoke, and I thought she might say it because it was a popular Linda contribution before she felt so broken, probably, was everything. It's a Matt Kahn thing. Only good can come of this. I don't know how good can come of this. Like, I don't necessarily like what's happening, and maybe it doesn't feel very nice, but I know that only good can come of this, because ultimately everything is bringing more good, right? And then the suffering piece comes from our attachment, right? We suffer because pain is happening and we're attached to not pain. And we are living in some challenging times. Humans have always faced challenging times to greater or lesser degrees in different societies. What's interesting now is we are having these like global challenges like the coronavirus and the climate change. And, you know, it is an opportunity for us to realize our oneness and come together. You know, humanity has spent so much time in our divisions, and we still do, you know, the tribal infighting back and forth, all the wars and things. And, you know, the focus on division, which has to do with the safety of the housing, right? And I think that the gift of these global crises, our mission, should we choose to accept it, is to accept that the gift is the clear knowledge that we are all in this together. And that despite all the separations, we really are all one. And, you know, we're gonna go down or remake the world as one. And so our peace, because you and I can't go out there and remake the whole world, usually most days. But our piece is to, as we've been focusing on this conversation, remake ourselves in, as Neale likes to say, the greatest version of the grandest vision or whatever, right? And that's what we're here doing, becoming our best selves so we can share that with the world and hopefully topple some more dominoes until, you know, the whole thing. We just got to keep doing our little part, and sometimes it feels really hard. And our body, with all of these memories, it's like trauma stored in our body that's being triggered, you know, by what's happening. And the more we're aware and we love ourselves and we care for ourselves, and then we can spread that out to our little sphere of influence. Great things come from these small things, right? Done with great love, as we said. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you very much. It
Thank
was
you.
very beautiful. And another great conversation has been had. I will try to get the recording out much sooner this time. I had a little bit of technological trouble, but what's
It's-
technological trouble?
No, it's been a week of technological trouble where
Yeah.
I've been sitting, and I don't know if that's going to get any better, but fingers crossed.
That's right. Fingers crossed. Otherwise, I'll be handwriting and need
Now-
addresses and
Yeah.
stamps and everything else. All right. I love you all, and we'll see each other next week. And thank you again, Linda, for reading.
Bye.
Thank you, Mary, for doing the closing. And thank
I love
you,
you all.
Marco and Ariana.
Thank you very
and
much.
Romy for
Thank
being
you.
part of the
Thank you.
Enjoy
conversation.
the
Bye.
time. Thanks a lot.
All right.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.